Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob from Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very special review, impressions of a knife that I bought. I haven't really carried. It's actually been more like a safe queen, and I don't do safe queens, and that's why this is probably going to go up for sale. This is my Shirogorov Quantum. It's part of the Ursus line. This is an EKnives exclusive. It is titanium and a pretty cool little knife. Let's talk about it. So the knife name is the Quantum, and the manufacturer is Shirogorov, and so these are made by them at their facility, probably a mid-tech semi-custom kind of thing. Being that this is a budget, you would think, oh, budget, it's going to be a super cheap one. No. Shirogorov budget, this is still about $800, right? So that's a budget Shirogorov. You know, regular Shirogorov's $1,500, $2,000, and so this is really nice, but I am going to be putting this up for sale. But I enjoyed this. It just didn't make my carries. So let's talk about it. The designer, it's one of the people there at Shirogorov. I don't know the actual designer. Let me see, does this say anything on here? No, it does not. So if anybody knows who it is, because this is the card that came with it, it's the Quantum EKnives edition. Chromax PM is a steel titanium handle, multi-row bearing system, and that's the serial number for the Shirogorov. So yeah, let's talk about this. Titanium handles. This is the texture. It is an EKnives design. You can see that on there, both in the front and back. So you can see the EKnives, the EK, and then over here you can see the Shirogorov little emblem. But it is kind of a textured in their way. It does have the typical Quantum deep pocket carry clip. That does work well. Things slide right over that. So it does move over that, and it does go down the pocket pretty well. So it is a hidden pocket clip with a screw on the inside, right? You do have a lanyard hole here, which is really kind of hidden. You have a standoff in the back, which is gigantic and gorgeous, made with that flathead screwdriver, and the flathead screwdriver up there for the pivot. And then you have a captive pivot on the other side, which is really cool. And then that looks like it's probably a T8 or T10 Torx screw. I think it's a Torx. Yeah, it's a Torx screw. And that is a steel bar insert over travel stop. Very, very tight tolerances. You can see that right there. Very, very tight. Really, really cool. It's got some jimping on here. Absolutely dead centered. Let's get that in there focused. Dead centered and really close. You can see how close it is to the actual, let's see if you can see that, to the actual thing there. But their tolerances are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Look at the dead center on there. It's so tight. So let's go ahead and flip this. And it is a flipper only. There's no other alternative way to get to this. And it is a larger knife. You can see that. So very large blades, got a kind of a Persian, because it's not quite straight. I don't think that's straight. Let's double check that. Is it straight? No. It has got a little bit of angle. So it's Persian. Technically, that would be a Persian style blade in the Chromax. So Chromax PM, very minimal billboarding on here. Wonderful, kind of like a satin finish. I wouldn't call this bead blasted. It looks like a satin polished whatever. Beautifully chamfered, nothing around there. Sharp tip goes out. Very, very sharp edge all the way across. It is a full flat grind, just about, comes right up there, but it's got a belly to cut with, and it's definitely really nice. So my hand is large, and I've got plenty of room. So extra large, double extra large, triple extra large hands absolutely could grip this knife. It's got some jimping up here, works really well. It is a frame lock. The engagement on this is probably about 10%, but absolutely solid in there. You can see the cutout here. It's not really quite cut out here, but there's cutaway there on both sides. And to get to that is absolutely easy. And so now it comes right here. It has a ramp, and it stops right there. And if you just kind of let it go past the ramp, it drops beautifully. So let's do that again. The flip is just ridiculous. So it opens and closes like that. You can drop right there, and then it just drops close. So you could push it past that. Once you push it past that and you drop it, it'll just go all the way down like that. So the action is just really ridiculous. Really, really smooth, okay? So you can see that right there. Now, it has a little sensitive to the lock bar, so if your fingers are on there, it's going to be hard to deploy, right? And if your finger's off, it'll be fine. And that's why when you're up here, you want to get your finger right there. You want to have a nice flat deployment right there. So that works really well. Don't just do the little tip thing here. That works as long as there's no pressure there. But if there's any pressure whatsoever, you want to have the full finger on there, and that makes it deploy really nicely. And there's even a little cutaway right there, so your finger can get some pressure to go down all the way through. And notice that here is the pivot, the dead center, and here is the flipper. It's a little bit above that, so it gives it good leverage, and that's how they get that really pronounced flip. So you just get that really wonderful flip on these knives, which is very enjoyable. And the action is just ridiculous. It's multi-row bearing system. So Skiff does some washers, but not for this. This is very different. Their washers are way bigger. If you take this apart, the washers are inside these cage, but they're not solidly in there. If you pick it up, they could fall out. From what I understand, I've never taken this knife apart, and I don't think I really ever want to, but you could. Just takes a flat head right there. I would cover that flat head with some plastic or tape so you don't scratch it. Right? Beautifully chamfered all the way around. Everything, all the little details are ridiculous. Just done well, really well. Look at that. You even got this right here. And I don't know if you call it a standoff, just pins right there. Works really, really nicely, right? And even look at the texturing and the milling on here. It's really nice. Even that's rounded all the way across here. You can see the texturing, and it's rounded all the way up there. And then if you look inside, if I'm not mistaken, is it this one or is it the Koenig that does that? I'm trying to get my light. Where's my light? Here we go. No, there's not anything in there. But sometimes some of these have some text on the inside. It'll talk about, yeah, oh, here we are. So I don't know what that is. Multi-row bearing system, Delta. Does it have anything on the other side? No. All right. So, and then you can see that screw right there, which is very similar to the screw that's right here. Same screw on the inside. You can see the milling in here. There's definitely some milling for weight relief all throughout in there. There's something in there, right? So nice weight relief all the way throughout there. Really nice. All right. So that is the materials, titanium, Chromax, which I understand Chromax to be a pretty new steel, maybe last couple of years. From what I understand, it's kind of like a really nice version of 154 or a harder steel, and they treat it really well. It works really well. They've got a few of their knives come out in that Chromax, and it works really nice. I can tell you when I stropped this, the edge was ridiculous, and it's nice and sharp here. I can tell you that. I can easily just shave the hair right off right here. So I don't know if you can see that. Well, okay, probably don't want to see that. But anyways, it shaves the hair right off, which is really nice. And so I don't know if you can also see that. I don't know if, can we see? There is a ramp. I want to, let me focus in on that. So, okay, you can see the ramp right there. Let's see if we can get a nice view of the ramp. So the ramp is inside that little round part right there. Do you see that little cutaway? And that's the ramp that it goes over. And so when the detent ball goes over that, you can almost see how it goes over. It's like a gradual increase. You see how the lock bar just gradually goes up and then over like that, because it's not a real sharp, it's not a sharp, like a 90-degree edge that it goes over. So that's really cool. That's the materials. Love the standoff. I'm pretty sure that's steel. Yeah, it's a steel standoff. But titanium scales for sure. So there you go. That is the lock type. It is a frame lock, and it works really nicely, and it locks up very, very solidly. There's no blade rock in here. There's no pivot rock. Let's listen to that click of the detent. Ready? Nice click. No detent lash. Let's do that again. Here we go. Nice and click. So that works really nice. And so you could, it always goes up really nicely, and as soon as you go in there, it's locked in there really well. And so you can see that. It's really quite fascinating how that works. And look at this right here. They even have, I don't know if you can see that, it's even chamfered right there. All the edges, everything, just a detail that you get with a knife. The chamfering all the way around there. I just think that's really cool. Just shows you the craftsmanship, the details that's involved in these knives. It's kind of insane, and it's cool. So All right, so let's go ahead and do some measurements. How much does this guy weigh? All right, so it's 4.22 ounces, which is not bad for the size of this knife. 4.22 ounces. Let's go ahead and measure the overall length. You can see this is not a small knife. Definitely not a small knife. All right, so 4.22 ounces, and the overall length, let's get there. Okay. The overall length of this knife is 8 and, I want to say 8 and 7/8, almost 8 and, yeah, 8 and 7/8. It's almost 9 inches. It is a big knife, all right? So let's look at the grip area. So you got 4 inches. You could probably go to 4 1/4. You go over. If you tried to choke up a little bit, you could get 4 1/2. So plenty of room here. You could theoretically choke up a little bit here on the trigger. You got to be careful, though. You want to be real careful you don't slip over because that edge will cut you. But here you're plenty. You got plenty of room, right? Plenty of room there. So definitely a lot of room on the knife with the grip. I think that's really fantastic. So let's look at the overall blade length. From the tip to the handle, we are talking 3 and 7/8, but the edge goes past this tip of that handle. And sometimes that's what they measure, but the edge itself is, wow, 4 1/16 of an inch. 4 1/16 of an inch. So 4.24, I mean, the ratio is almost perfect, right? If you're looking for perfect ratios, right? That's just kind of crazy there. All right, so let's go ahead and do the measurement of the blade stock thickness. I'm going to go ahead and leave it out so I can get to it. And I do have tape on my calipers here, so I'm going to go ahead and measure that. Ooh, just stay there, stay there. Let me hold it. All right, so we're 141 thousandths of an inch, so 0.14 inches, almost right between 0.1 and 0.2 inches. So it's a pretty robust, thick blade, right? Comes out to a pretty thin tip, but it's got some mass to it. So this is a great knife for cutting boxes, getting into dog food, cat food, mulch. I mean, you can absolutely use this knife. This knife is as nice and fancy as this knife is. It's definitely a really good user knife. I think you could absolutely use this knife, no questions asked. So I think you would be very pleased to be able to use this knife for a lot of those things. So what's the category? Well, excuse me, it's like, it's definitely above high end. High end goes up to $600 in my budget. Anything above high end gets into the custom mid-tech, and this is definitely a mid-tech because it's going to have some machining elements to it, obviously, that's going on here, but there's a lot of hand finishing. A lot of the rounded, a lot of things that they do on here is hand finished, from the pocket clip to all the little chamferings all around here, to the assemble and the tuning and the edge sharpening here, because this edge is just, if you look at this edge, it is perfect all the way around, okay? Yeah, it's just perfect all the way around and just really, really nice. So I call this mid-tech, and it definitely would fall into my custom / mid-tech range for sure. So, oh, got a little bug there. Looks like a gnat or something. Yeah, it's actually a gnat from my plant over there. I'll probably have to treat it again. Anyways, I digress. So is this an EDC? Absolutely, you could EDC. For some people, this is a safe queen right away. This is a collection piece, and they'll never carry this. I like to carry everything I have. It's just such a big knife to carry. It really is. It's a really, really large knife to carry, and it's one that I just didn't really carry a whole lot, just because it was so big, and it falls into that size that's almost too big, right? And because of that, I never carried this. As much as I wanted a Shirogorov, and I was excited to be able to get one, because you never see them around for that long, and then I finally got one, and and then I realized this is really big. I think I needed something that was 3.5 to 3 1/4 inches, and hopefully they'll do an Ursus line in that. But this is kind of big. So if you got big hands and you like big Shirogorov, you're going to love this. This is going to be fantastic and phenomenal. If you just want a collection piece for a Shirogorov, this is definitely something worth collecting. I think it's fantastic. All the milling, everything on here is just really phenomenal. It really is. There's just so many little technical details around here. As I look at this, the more I look, the more I realize, wow, that really is pretty cool, right? So that, I would say, is it hard use? Yeah, it probably could be hard use.
I don't know many people who will. I mean, I have heard people who take a Shirogorov, especially like this. This might be like their budget knife or something, you know, especially if they carry $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 knives. This would be a cheap knife for them, right? Where this is my high-end knives, right? So absolutely could be a hard use knife. It could be a collection piece, absolutely a collection piece. For many people, it's a collection piece. I got it because I wanted it in my collection. Now I'm going to use it. If I kept it, I would use it, and I just haven't used it. I haven't carried it, so it's not going to probably stay in my collection, right? I'm going to be selling it. So if you're interested, let me know if I haven't sold it already. But here you go. Yeah. So EDC for sure. Could it be hard use? Absolutely. It would do a lot of work. And from what I read of Chromax, it's going to be a pretty resilient steel. It is like a, I forget what it's comparable to. If I have any comments or anything, I'll try to put it in the description. If you know, feel free to comment down below. I'd love to hear that, because Chromax PM is something I couldn't find a lot of information on, and it's better than I thought it was, and but it's not quite, you know, it's not like a super magna cut type of steel, but it is pretty cool from what I gather and the way they use it. So might be like CTX or what is it, CTX-H, I forget that one steel, right? Could be something like that. Or RWL 34, something like, I guess, I don't know, something along those lines. So that's where I would put it. Now the design is great. I mean, the handle, it's comfortable. There's no hot spots. I can grip this super tight. Oh, super grip it. No hot spots. Left and right handed. It's very comfortable. Everything fits really in. Even if I choke up a little bit, which I not feel super comfortable doing, you could absolutely, there's no hot spots. It feels really, really great. It's got a beautiful edge. It's going to cut and slice just really, really nicely. And the opening and closing obviously is great. The beautiful, strong detent and the way Shirogorovs just explode out is just ridiculous, right? They don't open quietly. They don't open, you know, passively. They open with authority, and I like that. And it's always really nice. It's just a big knife, and so I like that. Opening closing is great. So Fidget Factor, you don't have any bonus. You don't have any bonus whatsoever. It is a flipper only. Now there's a few knives where they're intentionally meant to be flipper only. Like I have a Polish custom knives. I have the Herman Sting. This is meant to be a flipper only. And this again is also like one of these very premium type of knives, right? So it's also made very well. Now it's a much smaller knife, more in my size of knives, but this is a flipper only. But the flipper it does it really well. And you have that Herman Sing. Excuse me, you can hear that, right? The little sing there. It's the detent, the way the detent kind of springs a little bit. So that's really cool. And that's LMAX steel. So the same thing here. It's meant to be just that really snap authority kind of a flip. Now, some of them, I've seen some of these Shirogorovs with much smaller flippers, but this works really well. So I like that. So the Fidget Factor, because of what it's meant to be and how well it executes it, this is one of those things where you're like, well, it's a single flipper. That's it. That's all it does. Yeah, I know. But I've got to give it a 3 because Shirogorov does a flip like no one else. And I think a lot of people have replicated and copied and mimicked what they designed because they did it so well. And so I have to say they kind of set the bar up for this, right? You think about the size of this blade, the weight of this blade, which is probably weighs more than the handle and scales together, right? This blade itself is just so ridiculous, right? It's just meant to be just deployed so powerfully. So I'm going to give it a 3. And you know, that's a 3 out of 10 because this is how it's designed. It's meant to be flipped, and it flips really, really well. And so what's the fidgety goodness of that? It's 100%. I mean, Shirogorov knows how to flip. It's 100%. You have to try it to know what I'm talking about. Once you get this in hand, if you haven't held a Shirogorov, if you haven't flipped one, once you feel it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's just like when I got the Herman Sting. I heard about that. Once you get it and you see the action and you do the flip, you're like, oh, I get it. There's just something about that. It's just, they're two totally different designs, different types of knives, but they're so enjoyable and so pleasurable in their own ways, right? Just same thing about this with the Shirogorov. It's just So fantastic. It's 100 for those three. So fidgety goodness for flipper. This is how you execute a flipper for the Shirogorov design. Yes. So is it recommended? Absolutely, it's recommended. Yeah, it's recommended. Yeah, absolutely 100%. It's going to be recommended higher end knives. It's going to be my recommended regular knives. I mean, this could be just a regular knife recommended, but it's also going to be the higher end range, obviously. This is just phenomenal. Just really, really spectacular knife. I would love to keep it. I don't know if I'd carry it. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll bring it back in the collection and try not to sell it. And if no one buys it, I'm not going to sell this for dirt cheap, right? I'm not going to get rid of a knife and sell it for something it's not worth, right? I'm not desperate for the money for this knife. And so, you know, yeah, would I love to use the money for this knife towards something else? Yeah, you got it. I would. But it is what it is, right? So I'm not going to throw the money away just because maybe someone's not looking for a Shirogorov, you know. And people who buy these off of EKnives, you know, if they're ever looking for a great deal on a knife that hasn't been used and they want to save, you know, maybe 100, 150 bucks, talk to me. I mean, here you go. Unused knife. I think you would enjoy it. So there we go. This is the Shirogorov Quantum Ursus line. And Ursus line is really more their economical line. And when I say economical, I'm being kind of facetious. Economical for Shirogorov. So it is a price point that's more affordable for people who want to get a Shirogorov. Let's just put it that way. So that's the deal with the Shirogorov, all right? Absolutely recommended. Great knife. I think you would really enjoy it. It's definitely worth a try. It is phenomenal. I remember when I opened this and I did my first flip, I was just like, you know, get in here and you do that and you're like, oh, yeah. It is still that. I still enjoy that. It's just so unique to Shirogorov. I just really enjoy that. And I get it. That deployment is just one of the most strong, stout, forceful, determined, you know, in your face, like I am going to open and I'm going to open well and I'm going to be deployed, ready for use. And hello, my name is Shirogorov Quantum. I'm ready to be used, right? I mean, I don't know. It just feels like it speaks to you. It speaks volumes, right? Just, it's so great. So there you go. That's the Shirogorov Quantum, the Ursus line, the EKnives exclusive with the texture. Could have got one maybe without texture, but I like this. I think it's really cool. It's kind of a unique design. So there you go. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know. What do y'all thought? What are y'all thoughts? What do you think about the knife? What do you think about this impressions? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear comments down below. I do enjoy the comments. I do try to respond and talk to everybody because to me, that's important. That's part of me doing the knife channel. I realize as the channel grows, it may be a little more challenging to keep up with all of them. And it's starting to become, because, you know, we're almost at 3,000 subscribers. Who knows, when you see this, we might be past 3,000 subscribers. And the channel keeps growing, and that's great. I am so humbled and awesomely appreciative to all you people who watch the videos and subscribe and like the videos. Thank you to you guys all. Appreciate you. Hey, if you found this content interesting, fun, worthwhile, informative, entertaining, or just, you know, something you could maybe go to sleep with, would you please consider hitting the like button? And if you've already hit that like button, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button. Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel. Allows me to produce more content, allows the channel to grow, allows me to just be able to do more things. And I am very appreciative of it, because ultimately I can do more things for you guys. So thank you. Thank you to all of you. And if you haven't already, maybe hit that notification button as well, so you can be notified of future content like this. And then finally, maybe check me out. Oh, I'm always going to forget to mention this. Thank you to all my subscribers. You guys are awesome. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you. Thank you for being subscribers. I appreciate you. And if you're interested in being a subscriber, hit the check out the description down below. I do have a link on how you can be not a subscriber, a channel member. Goodness, how you can be a channel member. So if you're also interested in being a channel member, check out the description down below, and you could be a channel member as well. And I appreciate every one of my channel members. Thank you. Great way to help the channel. If you like what you see and you want to support, I really would appreciate it. Hey, and finally, check me out over on Instagram. If I can get my card here. Check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.